Hello, my dear young minds. How are you all? I hope you all are doing really very well. In our today's class, my dear student, we are going to start our English book. Okay, but before proceeding further, my dear student, I just want to discuss with you all the content which is mentioned in your English book. See, your content is described. Your content is divided into many units. Okay, so first of all, we are going to see the units and then your chapter. Okay, so the first unit in which your English book is divided, named as the theme on which this unit number 1 is based, is exploring the cosmos. Okay, now the term cosmos is related to astrology. Okay, means astronomical unit. It means here two chapters are given. Chapter number 1, George, Secret Key to the Universe, and chapter number 2, To a Star. These two chapters are totally related with our universe. Okay, so our unit 1 is dedicated to universe. Now our unit 2 is based on the theme of art and culture. In this unit, we are going to see what is the meaning of art and what is the meaning of culture in the form of chapter number 3 and chapter number 4. Now our unit number 3, okay, the theme on which unit number 3 is based on connection that bind us. Okay, what are the connections which connect one person to another person? Okay, here again we are going to see chapter number 5 and chapter number 6. Okay, unit 4, the theme on which our unit 4 is based, against all odds, means here you are going to see the fighting spirits of human beings. Okay, to get a win against all the odds. Now chapter number 7 and chapter number 8 show us against all odds theme. Now the unit number 5, in which your English book is divided, and its theme is masking reality. Okay, whenever you try to cover up the reality. Okay, so it is called as your masking reality. Now unit number 6, this is the last unit of our English book, and the theme on which this unit number 6 is based is called as sustaining life. Means in this unit, chapter number 11 and chapter number 12, these two chapters are going to tell us about our environment. Okay, so my dear student, in this way we are going to see all these 12 chapters divided into 6 units. Okay, now come with me and we are going to start the first unit of your chapter. Okay, the first unit of your English book, exploring the cosmos, with chapter number 1, and the name of chapter number 1 is George, Secret Key to the Universe. Okay, now come with me and let's start the chapter. Okay, my dear student, here you can see this is our first chapter, named as George, Secret Key to the Universe. Now my dear student, what is the meaning of George, Secret Key to the Universe? It means here you are going to see the journey of a boy named as George. Okay, how he explored the formation of stars. Okay, so you all are going to see all these things in this book. So first topic is be ready. Now first of all, we are going to see this lines. George, Secret Key to the Universe is a captivating children's science fiction book. It is a name of a book actually. George, Secret Key to the Universe, it is based on a science fictional book. Means all the things related with science is described in this book. It follows George's thrilling journey with a powerful computer named Cosmos to the birth of a star. In this chapter, my dear student, the main character role is played by a computer named as Cosmos. So you are going to explore the relationship between George and the computer named as Cosmos. The story highlights the wonders of the cosmos, inspiring awe and appreciation for the universe vastness. In this chapter, my dear student, you are going to see how vast our universe is. Okay, and on the other hand, how intelligent this computer named as Cosmos. Taking the oath of the scientist, George pledges to use knowledge for good. And in this chapter, my dear student, George also take an oath. Okay, that through his entire life, he is going to use his scientific knowledge for the goodwill of the human beings. Okay, now come with me and let's start reading the chapter. George enters an abandoned house to find his pet. Okay, so once upon a time, a boy named George. Okay, he was searching for his pet dog, and while searching for his pet dog, George immediately. Okay, George entered an abandoned house. Now, what is the meaning of abandoned house? Abandoned house means nobody want to go to that house, so that house is called as abandoned house. Okay, so while searching for his pet dog, George entered into the abandoned house. He finds out that the house is not abandoned and a girl named Annie lives there with her father Eric. Okay, now see. Okay, actually, at first impression, George thought that this house is abandoned, but actually it is not abandoned. Okay, George find out that in this house, a little girl named as Annie lives with her father, and the name of the father is Eric. Eric is a scientist and likes George very much. Okay, and Eric is a scientist by profession. Okay, and Eric likes George very much. The house is in a mess, but George spots many interesting things in the clutter of books and papers. At first sight, the house of Annie and Eric, appears as a mess. But George find it out a very wonderful place to explore. Okay, here George find out that there are a lot of books which are kept here, and they are giving a lot of knowledge. The things that fascinates him the most is Epic's special computer, and the most important thing which catch the attention of the George is Eric's special computer. Eric computer was small and glossy. It looked powerful and neat, the sort of keyboard, and the computer made a sort of humming noise, while bright flashes of the color computer you might find on a space ship. Okay, so the Eric computer was small in size. Okay, and it is shining. Glossy means it is shining. Okay, it appeared as a very powerful computer. Okay, and when you work on this computer, it makes a hum sound. Okay, and it also appears at a it also appears as a colorful computer. It is actually, it just looks like a spacecraft. Okay, it just looked like a spacecraft. Okay, it not looked like a computer, but it looked like a spacecraft. Eric hit a couple of buttons on the shot across the screen. Now Eric started hitting many buttons on the screen. He patted the computer happily. Okay, and immediately he started patting his computer in a happy mood. You have forgotten something, said a strange mechanical voice, and George jumped off his skin. Have I? Eric looked confused for a moment. Okay, and all of a sudden, when Eric stopped parting his computer, all of a sudden a mechanical voice came. Now, what is the meaning of mechanical voice? It means machine voice. Okay. Now, all of a sudden a mechanical voice came and started talking with Eric, saying that Eric, you must have forgotten something. So, in a very strange, okay, and in a very confusing state, Eric asked, "Really? Have I forgotten something? I'm not sure. Are you sure, Cosmos?" Okay. And you know what? On the other hand side, George was very much fascinated. Okay, because for the first time in his entire life, he have heard the voice of a computer. Yes, said the voice. You have not introduced me. I'm sorry, exclaimed Eric. George, this is Cosmos, my computer. Now Cosmos says, yes, Eric, you have forgotten something. Okay, and let me tell you what you have forgotten. You didn't introduce me to your friend. So immediately Eric said, oh, I'm really very sorry, Cosmos. I really forgot. Okay, I really forgot to introduce you with George. Okay, so Eric introduced Cosmos to George in his words, like, George, meet, this is Cosmos and this is my computer. George gulped. He had no idea what to say. You have to say hello to Cosmos, said Eric in a side whisper to George. Otherwise, he will be offended. Okay, actually, George had no idea. Okay, George have no idea that what kind of reaction he would show in front of a computer named as Cosmos. Okay, so immediately Eric understood the situation of George and said, George, you have to say hello to Cosmos. Okay, so George, first of all, you have to say hello to Cosmos. Otherwise, if you're not going to say hello to Cosmos, Cosmos will be offended. Hello, Cosmos, said George nervously. He would never spoken to a computer before. Okay, so George, okay, while George was feeling very nervous at this moment, okay, immediately he said, hello, Cosmos. Okay, he had never spoken to the computer before. Okay, why George was feeling nervous? Because this is the first time in his entire life that he was hearing and that he was talking with a mechanical thing. Okay, hello George, replied Cosmos. So when Cosmos received a greetings of hello from George's side, immediately Cosmos replied, hello George, I am the most powerful computer in the world. In the future, there will be computers more powerful than me, but there are none in the past or present. So Cosmos started giving his introduction. He is saying that I'm the most powerful computer in the present time. Okay, I'm the most powerful computer of this. I'm the most powerful computer of the world of the present time. Okay, in nearby future there are many more computers will come who will be much more powerful than me, but right now I'm the most powerful computer. Sorry about this, Eric whispered to George. Computers can be a bit touchy sometimes. So immediately, Eric whispered in the ears of George and said, sorry, George, actually, you know what? Sometimes the computers act as a bit touchy. Means sometimes computer act as emotional person. I am cleverer than Eric too, boasted Cosmos. And Cosmos can hear, okay? Cosmos can hear the whisper of Eric. Immediately, Cosmos said, and even you know what, George? I am much more cleverer. I am much more intelligent than Eric. Says who? Said Eric crossly, glaring at the screen. Okay, so when Eric heard such type of reply from Cosmos, immediately he said, look who is talking. Okay, and Eric started glaring at Cosmos. Says me, said Cosmos. I am I can compute billions of numbers in a nanosecond. Okay, the Cosmos said, yes, I'm saying that I'm the most intelligent computer. Okay, I'm the most intelligent computer and I am much more intelligent than you, Eric. Okay, even I can count. Okay, here you can see I can count billions of numbers in a nanosecond. I hope, my dear student, you all know what is the meaning of nanosecond. Okay, smaller unit than second. Okay, in less time than it takes you to say Cosmos is great, I can compute the life of planets, of comets, of stars and of galaxies. Okay, now Cosmos started praising himself. He is saying that I can compute more than 1 billion of calculation only in a nanosecond. Okay, even you can say your computer Cosmos is very great computer. Okay, even I can count the life which is exist in the plants. Even I can also count comets, the number of comets, the number of stars and the number of galaxies present in our whole universe. Before you can say Cosmos is the most impressive computer that I have ever seen, he is truly incredible, I can. Okay, and Cosmos started praising, okay, Cosmos continuously praising himself. He is saying that, Eric, I just want that you praise me. Okay, you say those lines for me that Cosmos is the most impressive computer which I have seen in my entire life. Okay, and when Cosmos was continuously praising himself, he was immediately stopped in the mid-sentence by Eric. All right, said Eric. Cosmos, you have the most impressive computer we have ever seen. Now, can we get on? I want to show George how a star is born. Okay, so immediately Eric stopped Cosmos and said, all right, Cosmos, no worries. I'm accepting that you are the most intelligent, the most smartest computer present in present time. Okay, now just stop and I want to show. Okay, and I want to show the George how stars are born. No, said Cosmos, and immediately Cosmos said, no, I don't want to show how stars is born to George. No, said Eric. What do you mean? No, you ridiculous machine. So Eric immediately said, no. What do you mean, Cosmos? Okay, why you don't want to show how stars are born to George? You ridiculous machine. He must Take the oath, said Cosmos. Good point. Clever Cosmos, said Eric, leaping over the blackboard. And immediately Cosmos said, Eric, if you want to show how stars is born to your friend George, okay, then you have to make sure that George take an oath before seeing how stars are born. Okay, and immediately Eric understood his mistake and said, yes, yes, you are right, Eric. Okay, sorry, you are right, Cosmos. Okay, George, first of all, you have to take oath. George, said Eric, to lean about the greatest subject in the whole universe. Are you prepared to take a special oath to learn about? To promise that you will use your knowledge only for good and not for evil. This is very important, George. Science can be a force for good, but it can also do great harm. So immediately Eric says, George, yes, Cosmos is right. Before proceeding further, before watching that video, you have to take an oath that you are going to use your scientific knowledge for the betterment of humanity. Okay, you are not going to use your scientific knowledge in any negative way. George stood up straighter and looked Eric in the eye. Okay, and after listening the response from Eric, immediately George stand up from his seat and said to and looked directly in the eye of Eric. I am, he confirmed. Okay, immediately George confirmed that yes, I'm ready to take an oath. Then said Eric, look at the words on the blackboard. It is the oath of the scientist. Read the oath out loud. Okay, so immediately Eric said, okay, George, then you have to look at the blackboard. Okay, and on this blackboard, there is an oath written here. Okay, now you have to read this oath in a loud voice. The words of the oath made him feel tingly with excitement right down to his toes. He read the oath out loud as Eric had instructed. Okay, now George started reading the words of the oath. Okay, and when he was reading this oath, actually he was feeling a tinkle sensation. Okay, tinkle sensation, and now George started reading that oath portion in his loud voice as instructed by Eric. So my dear student, this is the oath read by, okay, George. Now let's see. I swear to use my scientific knowledge for the good of humanity. I promise never to harm any person in my search for enlightenment. Okay, so the first line, of oath which is spoken by George is that I swear, okay, I swear that I am going to use my scientific knowledge for the betterment of humanity. I promise that I'm not going to never harm any person in my own search of enlightenment. I shall be courageous and careful in my quest for greater knowledge about the mysteries that surround us. Okay, and I will always remain courageous and careful while using my knowledge. I shall not use scientific knowledge for my own personal gain or give it to those who seek to destroy the wonderful planet on which we live. And even I'm also taking an oath that I'm not going to use my scientific knowledge for my own personal benefits. And even I'm not going to allow to use my personal or to use my scientific knowledge to destroy the world. If I break this oath, may the beauty and wonder of the universe forever remain hidden from me. Okay, and if in any case I'm going to break this oath which I'm taking right now, then from me the beauty of this universe will be hidden forever. Eric clapped. Annie by an empty crisp packet. Cosmos flashed a rainbow of bright color across his screen. So now George finished taking oath. Okay, now after when George finished his oath taking ceremony, Eric clapped. Okay, Eric clapped to cheer George, and at that moment, Annie, the daughter of Eric, came having a packet of chips in her hand. Okay, and now Cosmos, the computer, started flashing a rainbow light, and he started showing that how stars are born to George. Well done, George, said Eric. A star is born. Welcome, said Cosmos, playing a little computerized fanfare to this universe. The room was getting darker and darker. Okay, so Cosmos said, well done, George. Now Eric said, sorry, well done, George. Now Cosmos is going to show you how stars are born. Okay, now after that, Cosmos switch off the lights and all the room, and the whole room is getting darker and darker. Come and sit here, George called Annie. Come and sit here, George called Annie, okay, who had already settled himself on a big comfy sofa, okay. So when George settled herself on a comfy sofa, he called Annie, the daughter of uh, Eric. George sat down next to her, and after a few seconds, he saw a tiny beam of very bright white light. Okay, so when George and Annie settled down themselves on a piece of sofa, then immediately they saw that a beam of light is coming from the cosmos. It came directly from Cosmos screen. The beam shoot out in the middle of the room, where it waved for a second before to begin to sketch a shape in the air. Okay, and now this beam started making a sketch in the space given. But that looks like a George began to speak. But immediately at that time, immediately at that time, George started asking question that it looks like a window. A window, said Eric proudly. So Eric proudly said, "Yes, George, you are absolutely right. It is just looking like a window. Cosmos has made us a window on the universe. Watch closely. Now, my super intelligent computer Cosmos is making a window. So, watch carefully." The beam of light disappeared, leaving the window it has drawn in the middle of Eric's sitting room, hanging in mid-air. Okay, now the beam of light disappeared. It now looked like a real window. Okay, so beam of light after creating window disappeared. Now that window which is created by beam of light, it is looking like a real window. It had a big sheet of glass in the pane and a metal frame. Okay, and why that window piece is looking like a real piece of glass, real piece of window? Because the sheet of that window is made up of glass. Okay, and it has a metal frame. Beyond it there was a view, and beyond this window you can see a very beautiful view. And that view was not of Eric's house or of any house, road or town or anywhere else that George had ever seen before. But you know what? The view which is Cosmos is showing, this is not the view present in the front of the Eric's home, of front or of the front of the George home. No, it is something other. What is that thing? Let's see. Instead, through the window, George could see an incredible vast darkness paved with what looked like tiny bright stars. Okay, so instead, okay, so through the window George can see that those creatures, okay, those beautiful view is appearing in front of his eye just like a star. He started to try and count them. Now George started counting them. "George," said Cosmos in his mechanical voice, "there are billions and billions of stars in the universe." So when George was counting the number of the stars and how many stars are present in the sky, Cosmos, in his mechanical voice, immediately stopped John. He said, "John," he stopped George. Okay, he said in his mechanical voice that, "George, how you are going to count these stars? Because there are many billions of billions of billions of stars are present in our universe. New stars are created all the time. They are born in giant clouds of dust and gas." Okay, new stars. Okay, new stars are created all the time. The creation of new star, the process of creation of the new star is a continuous process. Okay, they are born. Stars are born from the giant cloud of gases. Okay, stars are made from the giant cloud of gases. I am going to show you how it happened. Now, George, okay, buckle up your belt. Okay, buckle up your seat belt, because now I'm going to show you how stars are going to form from this huge cloud of gases. How long does it take to form a star? How long does it take for a star to be born? George asked. Okay, so George asked Cosmos, "Can you please tell me how much time it is going to take to form a new star?" "10 of millions of years," replied Cosmos. "I hope you are not in hurry." So immediately Cosmos replied that 10 millions of years. "George, I hope you are not in hurry. You are going to wait to see, the formation of the stars." "Tut tut," said Eric, sitting cross-legged on the floor beside the sofa. Okay, Eric said while crossing his leg on the sofa, "No, I'm not in hurry. Don't worry, George. I have speeded it up quite a lot. You are still get home for dinner. Okay, so so Eric said to George, George, you are not George, you don't need to get worried. Okay, I have speeden up the speed of Cosmos. Okay, now he is going to show you all the process in a very fast pace. Okay, you can go your home, you can go to your home during the dinner time. George noticed something about the view through the window onto outer space. Not all of it was covered with little star. So at that time, George noticed that all the things which he can see in front of his eyes, they all are not stars. In the bottom corner of the window, he saw a patch of little darkness, a place where not a single star shone. What happening there? He pointed. So George said that in the universe, there is a corner area where no stars are twinkling. Immediately, George asked to Cosmos, Cosmos, can you please tell me why no star is shining in that area? Why it is a darkness there? Let's have a look, shall we? Said Eric. He pressed a button on the remote control and the view through the window seemed to zoom towards the dark patch. Okay. So immediately Eric said, George, you want to look at? Okay, no problem. And after saying this, he pressed a button of the he pressed the button of a remote control. Okay. And when Eric pressed the button on the remote control, the area is zoomed on the screen of Cosmos. As they got closer, George realized that an enormous cloud are hovering in that spot. When they zoomed up that area, they have seen that why in that area there is so much darkness, because in that area huge clouds are gathered. Okay, huge clouds are gathered. The window kept moving forward until they were right inside the cloud itself, and George could see it was made of gas and dust, just as Cosmos has said. Okay, and at that time the window kept on moving, and it take Eric and George. Okay, it take Eric and George in the cloud space, in the cloud area. Okay, Eric and George felt that this cloud is completely made up of gas and dust, right said by Cosmos. What is it? He asked, and where is it? So immediately George asked Cosmos, can you please tell me what is this and where it is present? It's a huge cloud in outer space, much bigger than the ones in the sky. So Cosmos replied, George, it's a huge cloud which is present in the outer space of the universe. Okay, and this cloud which is present in the outer space of the universe, it is much more bigger in the size. Okay, it is much more bigger in the size of the clouds which is present in the inner space of the sky, replied Eric, made up of tiny particles that are all floating around inside. So Eric said, in this cloud many tiny particles are present and they are continuously floating. There are so many of these particles that the cloud is enormous. It's so big that you could put millions and millions of earth inside it. So Eric further explained that, George, these clouds are so big that you can put millions of earth shaped planet in it. From this cloud many stars will be born, and from this cloud which is contain gas and dust, okay, from this cloud many stars are going to born. Inside the cloud, George could see the particles moving around, some joining together to form huge lump of matter. And at that time, George noticed that the many particles are moving and many particles are joining, and they are joining because they are going to form a new star. These great lumps spun round and round, gathering even more particles all the time. So these great lumps are continuously circling in an area, and they are going to form a new star. But as the particles joined together, the spinning lumps weren't getting bigger. Instead, they seemed to be getting smaller, as though something was squeezing them. Okay, so George saw that these particles who are spinning, okay, who are spinning in a circle, and they are combining. Okay, but instead of getting larger in size, they are getting smaller in size. It appears like that someone is squeezing them. Okay, someone is squeezing them to decrease their size. It looked like someone was making gigantic dough balls in outer space. One of these giant balls are quite close to the window now, and George could see it spinning round, getting smaller and smaller all the time. Okay, see, all this scenario is appeared in the appears in the eye of George, like someone is knitting a dough. Okay, knitting a huge gigantic dough. One of these giant balls are quite close to the window. Okay, so one of the giant ball, okay, so one of the giant ball is appeared in the front of the window. Okay, and it's looking like, and George could see it spinning around, getting smaller and smaller all the time. Okay, so George noticed that instead of getting bigger in size, all these balls are getting smaller in size. Like it appears like that someone is squeezing them. Okay, and George also noticed that they all are getting smaller and smaller in size. As it shrank, it became hotter and hotter, so hot that George could feel the heat from where he sat on the sofa. Maybe they are decreasing in size, but when the size is continuously decreasing, the amount of heat, okay, the amount of heat that gigantic balls contain are increasing. Size is decreasing, but the hotness they contain is increasing. Okay, even the hot, okay, how much hot that balls are, that heat can be felt by George where he was sitting. And then it started to glow with a dim but frightening light. Okay, and at that time those small gigantic balls started glowing. Why is it glowing, asked George, and George was surprised. He immediately asked to Cosmos and Eric that why these balls are shining. The more it shrink, the more it shrinks, said Eric. The hotter it gets. The hotter it gets, the brighter it's. Very soon it's going to get too hot. Okay. So immediately Eric replied, George, the more amount in which they are shrinking, okay, the more amount in which they are shrinking, they are going to become more and more hotter. And if they are going to get more and more hotter, it means they are going to shine brighter and brighter, and very soon they are going to become a very hot. The ball exploded from the inside, throwing off its outer layer of burning hot gases in all directions. And immediately at that time, that ball is exploded. Okay, and when it exploded, it dispersed all the particles here and there in the universe in the form of stars. After the explosion, the ball was shining like the sun. And when the explosion occurred, it appeared as in the form of sun. Wow, said George. Is that the sun? It could be. Is that the sun? Is that sun? It could be. Eric replied, and immediately George felt astonished. He immediately said, wow, Eric, can you please tell me that is it sun? So Eric replied, yes, George, it is sun. That's how stars are born, and the sun is a star. So in this way, George, you have seen that in this process, by following this process, stars are born, and sun is also a star. When a huge amount of gas and dust combines and shrinks to become dense and hot, as you have just seen, the particles in the middle of the ball are so pressed together that they start to fuse or join up, releasing an enormous amount. Okay, so George is saying that when these balls are started shrinking, okay, the more amount of heat they are going to release. Okay, and when they exploded, they convert themselves in the form of star. And the example and the result you can see in front of your own eye as a result of the sun. Is George actually looking at energy? But right now George is thinking that right now I'm just looking at energy. Is it true? This is called a nuclear fusion reaction. It is so powerful that when it starts, it throws the sun through the special window. Eric further continued, George, the process in which this ball is exploded and sun appeared in front of us, this whole process is called as nuclear fission. In fact, nuclear fission is so much destructive process that when it explodes, it can give birth to a huge star like sun. And there are difference between layers of the ball, and the rest is transformed into a star, the sun and the other star just saw. Okay, and and when these stars are created, okay, they are divided into many groups. Okay, some stars shine very brightly, it means they are very hot. Okay, that's why they are shining so brightly. But some stars on the other hand are very much dull in appearance, they are not shining so much. Okay, the stars are now shining steadily in the distance. It was a beautiful sight. Now, in the front of the eye of George, stars are shining very beautifully. It is a very, very beautiful scene. George gazed at it, amazed by its power. George is really surprised. He was amazed by the power of the sun and the stars' creations. Every now and then he could see huge jets of brightly shining gases sent hundreds of thousands of miles from the surface at extraordinary speeds. Till now, he has seen that the huge jets are going in the sky and they are releasing enormous number of energy. And the star will keep on shining like this forever, he asked. So immediately George asked to Eric, Eric, can you please tell me, these stars are going to shine in this way forever? So Eric replied, nothing is forever, George. Eric replied, George, nothing is forever. Even stars are also uh, burned out. Okay, stars are also burned out. Okay, so that's why, my dear George, nothing is permanent in this whole universe. This chapter is adopted from George's Secret Key to the Universe, and this book is written by Lucy and Stephen Hawking. I hope, my dear student, you all know Stephen Hawking. Who was Stephen Hawking? He died in 2018. Okay, he was the most famous scientist who released the theory behind a black hole, the concept of black hole. Okay, and you all know what is the concept of black hole. Black hole concept theory. Okay, black hole theory is related to the formation of our universe, how our sun and stars are formed. This concept is called as black hole theory. This black hole theory is completely described, totally described by Stephen Hawking. Okay, he was a very famous astronomer. Okay, he was a very famous astrologer also, and he was also a very famous physicist. Okay, so in this way, my dear student, we have completed this chapter. Now come with me and let's see the word meanings of the chapter. Glossy means smooth and shiny. Glossy means very smooth surface. Nanosecond, 1/1000th of a second. Mechanical, relating to or operated by a machine. Mechanical means when a machine is talking. Oath, a solemn promise or declaration. Oath means whenever you are making a promise. Enlightenment, the state of having knowledge or understanding. Enlightenment, when you completely understood anything or when you completely attain the knowledge. Clever, more intelligent or skillful. Clever means the most intelligent person. Fanfare, a short ceremonial tune played on brass instrument. Fanfare means a short composition. Vast, extremely large, very large in size. Particles, smaller unit of matter. Particles are the smallest unit of matter. And how many types of matter? Solid, liquid and gas. So the smallest part of matter is called as particles. Nuclear fusion. What is the meaning of nuclear fusion? The process in which two atomic nuclei combine to form a heavier nucleus to release energy. Nuclear fusion means where two atomic powers combine to release a energy called as nuclei. Okay, so in this way, my dear student, we have completed our chapter number 1. Okay, now my dear student, you have to go thoroughly through this chapter and complete all the exercise based on this chapter. Now I'm taking leave and going to meet with you all in our next class. Till then, my dear students, you have to take very good care of yourself. Bye.